Just to present myself, I'm Bart de Vos. I am the commercial guy responsible at Infoblox for the countries Belgium, Luxembourg, Denmark, and Norway since recently. I work together with Erik Peters, who is my system engineer and will support me in all the technical details and all the technical stuff. And we also have Jesper living in the room, who is our internal sales representative. He works out of the Amsterdam office. And Tom Hollanders, who is responsible for our channel organization in the Nordics. So the idea was to give you first a brief overview, a global overview of Infoblox. I understood that there are some customers in the room, there are some prospects in the room, so I will start from the beginning. I will explain a bit what is Infoblox, what can we offer as a DDI vendor, so DDI stands for DNS, DHCP and IP address management. Global overview. After that I will dive into some secure DNS solutions and to come to the cloud automation solutions and the next generation data center integration that we offer. And after the break I propose that Erik will take over and he will go into some technical details of the solutions and also some live demos around different elements. So first, Infoblox, we are a US vendor. We are in the market since more than 16 years. We are headquartered in Santa Clara, California. We work out of office in Antwerp. We have no local office here in Denmark, unfortunately, not yet. But we do work with a lot of good partners locally, and Credicom is one of the best partners with the most of the certification levels, both in engineering as in sales. So we really have a very good collaboration with Credicom since many, many years. Infoblox is a leader in the control network space. So DNS, DHCP and IP address management, these are all control network functions, really critical control functions. Both Gartner and IDC recently reconfirmed that we are the leader in this market space, and we have about more than 50% market share in this typical market. This represents about 8,300 customers worldwide. In Denmark today we have about 35, 40 customers in different verticals. Different solutions also, that one uses DNS only, others use DHCP, others use NetMRI, which is our network automation solutions. So we have different angles where we can offer you some solutions. Important to mention maybe is that we acquired in February last year, earlier this year, the company IID, and IID is actually a US company specialized in what we call machine-readable threat intelligence. So threat intelligence becomes more and more important as we see that today DNS is being used more and more as an attack vector to propagate malware or to attack your infrastructure. Actually, DNS is very much in use actually for this one. So this threat intelligence will help us protect your infrastructure also against cyber criminals. Finally, today we're listed in the stock exchange, the New York Stock Exchange, but we entered into an agreement with Vista Equity Partners recently, and we will go private as from next quarter actually. So there's a private equity fund that took over Infoblox because they really see the value in developing. We grow with 27% year on year, and this continues to be the case the last couple of years. Because we have different solutions that meet some demands in the market today. First, of course, and the most important element in our solution is the core network services, so DNS, DHCP, IP address management, and the combination of all three. So every new DNS record, every DHCP lease that will be handed out will be automatically reflected in the IPAM database. And the IPAM database is a single pane of glass where you can see your whole network. You have the real-time visibility on all your IP addresses in your network and the connected end devices. We also integrate with the infrastructure layer, so layer 2 and layer 3 devices are pulled actually, and all this information comes also in the IPAM database, which gives you a global overview of this end device is connected with that IP address onto that switch port, and you have all visibility. Second pillar in our solution is the secure DNS part. Last couple of years we saw an enormous rise in DNS being used for malware propagation, so we offer some solutions to protect your internal DNS server against malware, but we also have some solutions against all kinds of DNS attacks on your infrastructure, on your external DNS. If you would like to have it in-house, of course, a lot of companies do outsource the external DNS part, but we see a lot of companies also having, for instance, a hidden primary on-premise actually, and the last attack from last Friday on DIN DNS in the US showed again that a lot of cloud DNS providers for external DNS are also very vulnerable on several kinds of distributed denial of service attacks. So I come back on that one later. And then the third pillar is everything around the cloud network automation. So we see a lot of development in private cloud mainly, but also more and more hybrid cloud towards a full public cloud with Amazon Web Services and Microsoft Azure. How you're going to combine everything into the same IPAM visibility, that's what we call the cloud network automation. Do stop me if you have any questions, so I continue to go on. We have centralized management via our patented grid technology, and our grid is actually the development that made Infoblox very big in this market, because the grid enables, it's a collection of member appliances that are all managed as one single global system, and it can be very consolidated when you have a grid master and a grid master candidate in the recovery side. Both are in high availability, so they have high availability out of the box and disaster recovery to enable full availability of these specific business critical core network services. This can support the management. It's also the GUI that resides on the grid master. They can support all the management. Also the services can be deployed on the same box. If you have only 2 data centers, that will be sufficient to serve all your DNS and DHCP services for the entire company. Other companies or other environments that are a bit bigger maybe, they can go for local survivability. And when there is a need for local survivability in some remote sites, they can add some additional members, local members from a very small Cisco or other virtual instance, or even the smallest Trinsic 100, which is a small device which is capable of serving about 100 IP addresses actually. These are all edge devices, or you can have dedicated layers in your solution where you have the internal DNS layer, internal recursive, the caching layer, the external DNS layer in different layers, and then they are all deployed on a different appliance in the same grid and managed again out of the grid master. The grid master is the GUI, and there the only access on the appliances is through the grid master and through the same GUI, where you have role-based administration that you can share with other team members in the company, where everybody can manage their own IP space, for instance. We can extend this grid by managing also existing Microsoft DNS and DHCP servers, agentless. Out of the same grid master, we can manage really new DNS records to be populated, or we can only have a read or a read only actually, to have again the visibility in the IPAM database of every IP address that is handed out. Same thing goes for the virtual environment. So we integrate a lot with the VMware, with other virtualization platforms, OpenStack also, on the private premise, but also open public cloud on Microsoft Azure or Amazon Web Services has been added also to give you again full visibility and also help you in automating the spinning up of new workloads. They all need an IP address and a DNS records to function. So there we come back later on how we will help you in getting this more agile. We added a few years ago some additional appliances like the Network Insight appliance. And the Network Insight appliance will talk to your layer 2 and layer 3 devices. And then they will get the forwarding tables and the ARP tables, and we'll add the same information as extensible attributes in the IPAM database. So you know perfectly well this IP address has been connected to that switch port historically, but also today. So this gives you much more visibility, which is important, of course. And another thing that we added is the reporting server. And the reporting server gives you all the necessary historical and trending reports on the entire DDI environment. So you have all visibility. You know what antivirus was connected where 3 months ago, 1 year ago. So you have every visibility on all the DDI elements. So this Infoblox reporting and analytics appliance, it's a dedicated appliance. It comes as a virtual or as a physical appliance that can be added very easily in the grid. It has a Splunk engine inside of it. So the Splunk enables you to make very valuable reports on all the core network services data. So you have actionable network intelligence, so you can see very granular what DNS and DHCP has been used. It gives you also visibility on security issues that might arise when there is a malware that's been propagating. You know what antivirus was infected by the malware. It helps you determine it more quickly where the infected antivirus was located. It helps you also in capacity planning, and some compliancy reports is also added. It's a Splunk engine inside, so it comes in different flavors and different daily index rates that are offered. And since recently, since earlier this year, we added a free reporting tier. Free reporting tier is a virtual appliance with only 500 megabytes of daily index rates, which is not that much, but gives you already the possibility to use freely the full-fledged Trinsic reporting appliance on your existing grid. So, of course, if you need more, the purpose of Infoblox is to sell these appliances. So you will 500 megabyte is not that much, of course, and you will easily be you can upgrade it towards a 1 or the 2 or the 5 gigabit daily index rate, depending on the size of your environment again. So this is the reporting appliance. We come later in more detail, so I'm just giving the global overview. The Network Insight is the other appliance that we added. It gives you more authoritative IPAM, and this helps you in discovering everything that is on your network. It's via SNMP, it talks to your layer 2, layer 3, multi-vendor infrastructure devices, and it gives you comprehensive information around what infrastructure device, but also what end device is connected to the different infrastructure devices. So that's very important to have some visibility on end devices. It helps also to achieve more operational efficiency. You can discover very easily rogue devices on your network, or unmanaged devices come as an unmanaged, and you can very easily via workflows convert them to managed devices. So, it also enables you to have some port control, so port management is also added. This gives you visibility on what ports are used on the switches, but also you can put the port up or down out of the same GUI, out of the same grid master actually. You can deploy a new printer, assign them with an IP address, a DNS record, put the port up and put it in the correct VLAN, etc. So everything can be done out of the same grid master, and it helps you achieve much more efficiencies. So that's about it for the standard DDI solution. So it offers DNS DHCP, Network Insight, reporting, integration with virtual environments, and a lot of other very nice features. The second pillar that we discussed was around secure DNS. So secure DNS is actually 4 different solutions. It's about DNS Firewall. DNS Firewall helps you stopping malware-infected end devices to connect to the botnet command and control on the DNS server itself. Advanced DNS Protection is a dedicated appliance that will protect your DNS server if you will host your own external DNS server in-house against all types of distributed denial of service attacks and other DNS-based attacks, so they can keep your DNS service alive even under attack. DNS Threat Insight is a new feature that we added earlier this year, and this will help you detecting DNS tunneling going on, and so data exfiltration attempts will be discovered, will be stopped, and will also will be protected thanks to the integration with DNS Firewall. I'm coming back in detail just hereafter. And then finally, the security ecosystem. So we try to work more and more together with other security vendors, because we think that's the way forward to give you more value from our solution and from other solutions when we work together with other security vendors. So we have a very broad ecosystem thanks to our open API that we support. So first, Infoblox DNS Firewall. This is about how to stop malware communication on your network. So when an infected device comes on the network, at a certain point in time, he will try to find his botnet command and control. He needs to download additional codes, or he will be affected by going to the malicious domain. There is always a DNS query involved. Otherwise, they cannot find the botnet, they cannot find the malicious domain. So what we do, we add on the existing Infoblox appliance an additional DNS Firewall license. It's a license that enables response policy zone, RPZ. And RPZ is the RPZ, response policy zone, is a zone that will first be checked up against. And when there is a malicious domain that has been discovered, we will stop communication towards this malicious domain. Or you can let it pass through, but you have the reporting and you know what end device has made this attempt. How do we do this? The response policy zone is populated by the feed, the Infoblox threat update feed. And that's why we acquired earlier this year the company IID to have our own threat intelligence in-house actually. And it helps us having a more powerful feed in stopping malware communication. This feed is updated every 2 hours or even quicker when there's new threats that arise. The devices that are infected by a malware are pinpointed. We have all the information. You have the IP address, the MAC address, the DHCP lease, the history of the DHCP, etc. And we can, of course, sync those with our reporting server and give you very good reports around these infections. But we can also forward this to any syslog and other SIEM format. In this, we also work together with FireEye, and FireEye is actually the appliance that runs, that discovers the APT threats, or the advanced persistent threats, zero-day attacks. Everything that FireEye will discover will also be communicated with our DNS firewall and will also be stopped. So FireEye is very good in discovering APT threats, but stopping, they do not stop anything because they're not serving DNS, of course. We do, and we do have an integration with FireEye since a few years already, and this helps a lot of companies to stop additional malware of propagating. So this is our Infoblox DNS firewall, a solution that we added a few years already ago, and is very, very popular for the moment because we see a rise, enormous rise in DNS-based malware, unfortunately, everywhere in Europe and in the US.
Do you have any Danish customers for the firewall, DNS firewall yet?
I think we do, yeah. There were several customers.
Is anybody here running
Not sure if.
DNS firewall?
Yeah, working on the
Okay, come on. Did you? Yeah. Anders, you kører den?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And satisfied?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
One of the additional benefits is that we can add manually. I mean, we
Sure.
receive a lot of phishing, ransomware,
Mm.
and whatever, and within 1 minute, I mean, we can block the malicious URL or
Indeed,
DNS
yep.
name, and then we know that users will not be infected
Yeah,
anymore. So,
correct.
So in addition to the external feed, which covers the general, then we can do our own very focused protection of our network. So
That's correct, yeah.
highly useful.
Yeah, you can blacklist your own devices, your own list, you can add those in the blacklist also. You can work with different feeds.
Those that you blacklist.
Okay.
At
Yeah.
the university, there's a different, I mean, and maybe a different need for accessing sites that are usually considered.
Malicious, yeah. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, definitely. Okay, very good. Second product is the Advanced DNS Protection. This Advanced DNS Protection is a dedicated appliance that will filter all incoming requests for your external authoritative DNS server. It can be integrated in the same grid, of course, and it will detect when there is some floods going on, DNS exploits, hijacking, reconnaissance attacks, amplification attacks, and pure distributed denial of service, as long as it's DNS-based, of course. We can detect those, and we can drop the malicious packets and the not normal traffic. We can drop it and only answer the legitimate traffic in real inline speed, actually, because in the device, in the appliance, there is a dedicated NIC card, this a program, next generation hardware card, that will very quickly on behavioral signature based actually drop the incoming traffic and only respond and only hand off actually the legitimate queries to the the DNS engine that is running on the same appliance. So it's a dedicated, very powerful, very secure appliance that will withstand all types of DNS-based attacks, and at the same time also give you a lot of reporting and visibility on what is going on actually on your external DNS. Data exfiltration is something else. That's another solution that we added. It's the Infoblox Threat Insight. Now, data exfiltration as such is a very easy way of exfiltrating data over the DNS protocol. As long as it's not a volumetric data exfiltration, the DNS tunneling will not be detected, not even by next generation firewalls, unfortunately. They only detect the real typical IODAM package and the real signatures or the very volumetric data exfiltration attempts. But as long as you, for instance, here is a very small example of a foo.thief.com domain that has been hosted by the one who wants to exfiltrate some data, and you send some DNS queries with the name, Mary Smith, so security number, date of birth, credit card number, together with the request for this domain, that will all pass because it's legitimate DNS traffic, and port 53 should always be open, so DNS is always should always be available. So there is no way that this can be stopped. Now, Infoblox, because we are the DNS server, we developed a very powerful algorithm, and it's an analysis model actually that can be added on your internal DNS server by just adding the license, and it will take into account in a longer period of time all the elements like the sizing, entropy, lexical, to define actually a certain threshold. And as soon as we consider this threshold being reached, we discover that there is DNS tunneling going on, and then we can block it. So the first queries always will pass through. That is unfortunately inevitable. But at a certain level, we see there is DNS tunneling going on. It will be blocked, and the domain towards the DNS tunneling is going on will also be added in the DNS firewall and will be blocked for all the other end devices on your network. So there is no way of going through another way out of and setting up an additional tunnel via another end device. This is new, this is unique. We are the only vendor that can provide you anything for stopping DNS tunneling. And Eric will show you later a very interesting demo around how this really works. So it's a very, very big product. And finally, to help and enable more value from the other vendors that you might already have maybe in your network, we do focus a lot on integrating with some other vendors on different elements like endpoint security with Carbon Black. With access control, we partner together with Aruba and also with Cisco, where we integrate with Cisco ICE, and we also publish to PXGrid, for instance. Vulnerability management, Rapid7, a lot of SIEM tools where we, of course, can, through our reporting server, add some additional information on AP, logarithm, and other SIEM tools. FireEye, as we mentioned in the DNS firewall, and much more to come. We support today Stix and Taxi. Stix and Taxi is a new protocol-like environment where we can share more discoveries in the threat landscape, and that can be used by additional other vendors. And we have a full open API platform that can be used by additional vendors. So much more to come also in this space, and this is always included in every release. So that's about secure DNS. Final word I would like to touch is around cloud network automation. So cloud network automation, this is about extending the IPAM management and the management of your environment to virtual environments. So on-premise virtual data centers based on VMware or OpenStack or other platforms, but also to the public clouds in Amazon and in Microsoft Azure, where we can first have a unified solution to manage every workload in the different environments. We can also add you some automated cloud-based discovery and give you visibility on everything, every workload that's in different environments has been put up. This can be done only by using the management interface, but we can also add some additional local appliances, so cloud platform appliances, so we call it, in the different data centers to add some additional local survivability. Same thing for Amazon, same thing for Azure. We have some virtual appliances that can be added in the Azure or in the Amazon cloud. And at that point, you have a full visibility of all your workloads, both on-prem as off-prem. So this gives you much more visibility, one. But secondly, automation of the provisioning. And this is important also. When you set up a new virtual instance, it needs an IP address and a DNS record. And traditionally, it's the cloud team that sets up new instances, and then they open a ticket at the network team to ask what is the next available IP address that I can use. This can be fully automated with our integration that we have with VMware, with OpenStack, but also with Azure and Amazon. It can be fully automated that a new instance will spin up. It will receive its IP address, its DNS record, and when it's pinned down, when it's destroyed again, the record will be released again. So everything is your IPAM database remains clean and up to date. And it offers you the possibility to have consistent network policies all across the network, wherever the workloads are located. So this gives you much more agility, much more time, much less time to deploy new workloads. It's multi-platform, and it gives you all the visibility. So this is a more marketing slide. But that was my last slide. So this was a global overview, very quickly maybe, of all the solutions that we offer today. Not sure if there are some questions now or.
Yes. I would like you to talk a bit more about the IPAM, since cyber security in Denmark is recommending that you are more focused on register who is coming in and out of unit. This is something which is...
Is a compliancy rule that is needed, or is compliancy? There's
Yeah,
some
how you do the IPAM stuff here, maybe you could speak about that, because this is a very important issue for cybersecurity in Denmark.
okay.
One of the recommendations of Center of Cybersecurity that you do IPAM in a high level.
Do you have anything on that one? Because
I don't have any slides on it, but I can
Maybe you should
comment on
present
it.
yourself.
So, I'm Eric Peters, so I'm the system engineer who's working with Bart.
he's my technical conscience, so everything I thought is confirmed. Needs to be confirmed.
So the reason that Denmark is focusing on that is also because SANS is focusing on that. It's one of the number one requirements, knowing what's on your network. And the only way you can know really what's on your network is to look what's connected to it. And that's where our network insight basically helps. So you have your IPAM, you have your DNS, your DHCP records. That gives you already a lot of information. But if somebody grabs a system, gives it an IP address and connects it to your network and doesn't inform anybody about it, yeah, then you don't know about it in IPAM if you didn't get anything from DHCP or you're not doing any DNS with it. Network Insight will talk to the layer 2, layer 3 devices, so everything that is connected will be discovered as being in an ART table, because if it's not in an ART table or in a forwarding table, well, the device simply can't communicate. So if you do the discovery of your network using Network Insight, you have visibility of what's on the network. And how does it appear in your GUI? Well, basically, if it's an unmanaged device that nobody knows about it, it shows up as yellow, and you can have a smart folder that shows all your unmanaged devices, so you can figure out what's connected on the network you don't know about. Or it can show up as red, which can be a conflict. For example, somebody gets an IP address via DHCP, because he's allowed to get it. He looks at the IP address, then throws away his laptop, takes another machine, gives it the same IP address and brings it on the network. Well, yeah, that's an IP address and a MAC address that doesn't correspond to what was given out by the DHCP server, for example. So that will show up as conflicts. So Network Insight can help you in that aspect.
Yeah.